Welcome to this lesson 7, where we'll be talking about empowerment. And as a part of the empowerment, it's important to understand the life cycle of an initiative. So let's take a look at how that works. An initiative is created. Who can create the initiative? Well, it can either be the owner, which has a desire to delegate some work to a responsible, but it could also be based on a dialogue between two individuals where they agree on what it is that needs to be delivered. Then the manager might ask the employee to create the initiative, and so it will be the responsible that will be creating the initiative and assigning the ownership to the manager. It could also be the third use case, where you had a third party creating the initiative on behalf of the owner and responsible. So in Action Planner, it's quite flexible who is going to be creating the initiative itself. What's common for them is that it's the first step in the initiative lifecycle. The second step is that we assign the initiative, and then the state of the initiative goes to pending. Why? Well, because commitment theory says that if you have had a chance to say no, you're more committed when you say yes. So for that reason, we want to give people a chance so that it becomes a little more voluntary whether you want to take on this responsibility or not. So as responsible, you actually have to actively accept the responsibility. What options do you have if you do not accept? Well, let's take a closer look at that. But let's assume for 2 seconds you do accept. Then you're responsible. And we're going to come back to in a little while what responsibility means in Action Planner. Now let's take the other situation. You're not quite there yet to accept the responsibility. What options do you have? Well, you can either modify the initiative or you can write out decline it. When you modify, you're actually making changes to the initiative. And under the assumption that the owner can accept those changes, then you're willing to be responsible. So you can actually ping pong a little bit the initiative back and forth in sort of a negotiation phase until you're both happy with the deliverable and the responsibility. When you decline it, you actually can put in a comment for why. Good reasons could be, for instance, I simply do not have the capacity right now because of the time or the resources. The second reason that we often see is because people don't feel that they have the competencies to go and execute on this initiative. Now, let's assume you accepted the initiative. What happens then? Well, now we enter a phase where you as responsible would be executing on the initiative through milestones, through actions, and you'll be giving feedback on a regular basis. At some point, you're probably going to feel that I'm done. And as soon as you have that situation, then you can request completion. So the responsible cannot just go ahead and decide for themselves to either delete it, reassign it to somebody else. No, the only way that you can get out of the responsibility is actually for the owner to accept that now the initiative is done. So you start by requesting completion. If the owner agrees, the initiative will be stored in what we call the archive. So we don't delete initiatives, and you can revisit completed initiatives for learning purposes so that we can keep track of and learn from previous experiences. Now, if the owner does not agree that you're done, it will not be approved, and so probably you will have a dialogue around what parts of the work is still missing, and you'll come to an understanding. From the archive, the owner can always delete the initiative, or as the initiative is progressing, the owner might decide to delete it because it became obsolete. So the owner has that privilege to do that, and also the owner has the privilege to reassign to somebody else that is then responsible. So this governance model is extremely important in order for people to both have clarity in who is doing what, and also for it to be manageable in an everyday organization where things go very fast and people go in and out. Now, the last thing that I will mention is the ability to save an initiative as draft. If you haven't really talked to the person that you would like to delegate this work to, we strongly recommend that you have a dialogue, just like what you're probably doing today. You have a dialogue around involving this individual and talking about what kind of deliverables you're expecting, and then assign the initiative. Let's say, for instance, if you're creating the initiative at late afternoon, you want to save it as a draft, talk to the person, and then assign it so that it goes to pending. This is the life cycle. So what does it mean to be responsible? This empowerment that we are talking about, what does it really mean in terms of responsibilities? It means three things. The responsible must be responsible for approving the initiative first and foremost. Secondly, to give feedback and to solely decide for themselves the color of this initiative. Green means everything is okay. Amber means there's challenges. And red means attention is needed. Thirdly, it's important that the responsible reflects reality in Action Planner so that when we're looking at the overview reports, this is the reality. In other words, the latest stage that we believe in and feel accountable towards.
Be successful. Execute with Action Planner.